The Sand Springs Sandites are back in the state championship game for the first time in a decade, their first appearance since 2015. And joining us now is the head coach of the Sandites, Bobby Klinck. And coach, before we dive into the state championship game, let's go back to Friday night in Edmond because, man, it was an instant classic and it's a game
Sure.
that's going to go down in Sand Springs football history. You've had a few days now to reflect on the semifinal win over Putnam City. Um, First question's an easy question. How did you
Yeah.
guys get it done?
It's the players. People are like, "What'd you do in the locker room? And all this stuff." I was like, "Man, I didn't say anything. It was all the players in the locker room coming together. We were busy trying to make some adjustments. I mean, we were trying everything in the first half. Came up with one last deal in the second to kind of give our guys an opportunity, and the rest of it was the kids talking to each other at halftime. Had nothing to do with me or coaches. It was all about those players, and they got it done. If I had a part in any of it, it's that, I came up with a defensive game plan to give up 200 yards in the first half so they'd have an opportunity to do what the heck they did. So I'm still emotional over it. It's incredible, but I know we got, another big challenge ahead of us. So that's what we're getting ready to do right now.
Walk me through that last drive.
Yeah.
At what point did you guys know, hey, if we score here, we're going for the win. We're not kicking the extra point. We're not trying for overtime. We're not going to,
Yeah.
test our luck there. At what point did you guys know we're going to go for it if we score?
You know, honestly, it was just kind of one of those things that, God, if we get in position just to get to that point, we're gonna be so gassed. We got to go for it. Is kind of was my thought. So even before, when we were two scores down, I was telling, after we scored that one, I was telling the offensive staff, like, listen, guys, we're gonna get two more scores on it. That last one, we're gonna go for two, and we're gonna win the game. So just have your 2 point play, whatever you're gonna do. Um, have it ready to go. So it had already been in my mind that that's what we were going to do. And when it all just started kind of, you know, um, dominoing to that moment, it was an easy call.
We talk all the time when it comes to Sand Springs football, especially this year, last year. A lot of the attention goes on your quarterback and your wide
Yes.
receiver, Easton Webb and Dom Forbes, and rightfully so. They're very special
Yeah.
and talented players. What makes that connection so unique? Because look, you've been around the game of football for a long time now.
Yeah.
You've seen great duos, both as a player, during your time at Jinx and
Yep.
all the different coaching staffs you've been on. What makes this duo with Easton and Dom so special?
They're just great players. It's uh, the closest thing that I've coached against was probably when I was at the DC at Broken Arrow and Dylan Stoner, and that they had that one other quarterback who guy couldn't stand him. He was so good, but it was just, you knew the ball was going to him and they'd make plays. And that all the teams now are starting to focus on that. They're doubling them up and all that stuff, and that gave Paxton Salazar a chance to have a big night. But yeah, Easton and Dom, they're premier football players. They're two of the best players in the state, in my opinion. I think most everybody would say that. Anybody that's ever, that's just singling them up, he makes them pay. So we would expect the same thing this week, and so we just got to be prepared for all that.
We'll get into that matchup in a
Yeah.
little bit because it's going to be interesting to see
Sure.
those two specifically against Choctaw secondary, which
Yeah.
they're very talented there as well.
Absolutely.
But you mentioned how the offense, they have to do things a little differently because they are opponents are doubling Dom
Yep.
and you're having to switch things up. And the running game this season for the Sandites has been so interesting to follow because it seems like every other week you have a different guy going,
Yeah.
for 100 yards and a couple touchdowns or whatever it
Sure.
may be. The last couple weeks, it's been Brock Odell, who was predominantly a defensive standout, but
Yeah.
over the last couple of weeks, man, he's taken his game to another level at the running back position.
Yeah, I mean, just you get into the playoffs and just wanted to put a big run package together, and he was the obvious choice of just a guy that you could give the ball to, and he's going to go get something. And we already knew he's one of the fastest players on our football team, so we thought we had something. Lord, I didn't know we had that. I mean, shoot, I'm a horrible coach. We should have been doing this all year. So I mean, he's just a special person, a special football player, and for him to showcase what he's capable of, on the biggest moments, pretty dang cool.
The consensus, just talking to you for the first 5, 10 minutes now, the consensus from you has been the players, the players, the players.
Yeah.
I want to talk about you for this question though.
That,
You've won state championships as a player yourself. You've won state championships as an assistant coach on various staffs. Now you are in a position where you can win one as a head coach. You've had this opportunity before. People
mhm.
people don't
Yeah,
people don't remember you led East Central back to the state title game
sure.
a little over a decade ago. So you've been in this position before. Have you given yourself a moment to think about what it would mean for you to lead this program to a state title this week?
I mean, it's hard to answer that question if you're for me. I look at it as, man, this is such a neat experience for some of these coaches who haven't had a chance to coach in this, for this town to experience. It hadn't happened in a decade. It's this is a special place. This place cares about football. Um, I think the whole stands wanted me fired in the first half, and then the second half, oh, well, you can coach again. So I mean, but that's what you want. And so, I, for me, it's just I'd really like to see just the look on the kids' faces, the parents' faces. It's always going to be a magical experience for them. I just hope it's a good experience afterwards.
Now, let's talk about Choctaw because
Okay.
this is a very fun matchup. It's one that
Sure.
Sand Springs ultimately is very used to at this point when it comes
Yeah.
to the playoffs. You had them, for 2 quarters last year in the
Yeah.
semifinals. You had a lead on them. What are your overall impressions on this year's Choctaw team? Because they've had some bumps in the road along the
Yeah.
way as well. Kind of similar to Sand Springs, where they played a tough non-district schedule. They took some lumps early on and kind of, grew as the season wore on. What are your overall impressions on this year's version of the Choctaw Yellow Jackets?
I mean, they're just it's an impressive program that Coach Corbin has put together over there. And you go through the years of success that they've had. It's been different types of teams. A few years ago they had the quarterback that could run around and throw. I mean, they're throwing the ball all over the place, and now they're running the ball and doing quarterback run stuff and different. They've always done the different formations and the shifts. I mean, it's almost like watching Bixby play with. But there's definitely it's definitely Coach Corbin's offense and just kind of the stuff that they do. It's so impressive. And then defensively, and I say this in the most respectful terms, they're savages. And if you're a defensive guy, that's an ultimate compliment. They get after it, and it's then they've been doing it for a long time. They've been, you know, you call it a thorn in their side. They've kicked our butt the past few times that we've played them, and for us to be considered a program like them, we have to try to put something together to find a way to be successful against them.
You and I talked back in October about Sand Springs knocking on that door. And
Yeah,
look, Choctaw, Muskogee, Stillwater, they've been the top teams in 6A2 over the last several years. You wanted to get to this point. Now you're at this point. And when you look at this year's team, we talked about Easton, we talked about Dom and Brock.
yeah.
Who are some of the other players that have played critical roles for the Sandites to get where you guys are right now?
Yeah, there's so many guys. It's there's Alex Dudley, safety, wide receiver, who's been a 3-year captain. He's the youngest brother of three. I coached his older brother, so it's the last Dudley that I get to coach. So that's going to be weird. Emery Smittick's been our weak side backer. He's just an undersized guy that has a heart of gold. I hope that he's going to get an opportunity to play somewhere Saturday. If he was 6 foot, people would be knocking my door down. I mean, I can go on forever. The offensive line, shoot, I mean, it's this roster is so full of guys that have been with us. We don't get a lot of transfers coming in here. I think we've got one, Trey Pope, who came from Tulsa Central, who didn't start his first year. He transferred over here. So I guess we kind of push the norms a little bit over here. We're a program that we love the kids that are here. I'm going to coach the kids that are here, and they love it. And when you see how they responded in the second half against Putnam City when everything was on their line, their season, the dreams and everything. I don't think you get that from guys that maybe moved in the year before. These are guys that have been here, and it was so freaking. I'm still at loss for words for it. And if you got 30 minutes, I'll name everyone off and talk to them about 5 minutes because they're an incredible group of young men.
It's YouTube, coach. We got as long as
Dude,
you want.
man.
We got as long as you
Hey,
want. I'm not going to interrupt you.
well, I mean,
Uh,
I would, but I gotta prepare for this. If you have you seen this offense Coach Corbin's running, man? They got motion shifts, all this garbage, man. We got to get ready for it.
yeah, don't want to take more of your time. That's a
I'm
good
with you,
point.
baby.
That's a
No,
good
you're
point.
good. Keep rolling, man.
The Yellow Jackets, we mentioned it earlier,
Yeah,
they're secondary,
yep.
and I think that that's going to be a huge matchup when I look at this
Has
game
to be.
and
Yeah,
the talent that they have, specifically at the cornerback position. They got a couple guys that can do some damage. Their front seven, like you mentioned, savages. They get after you on the offensive line in the backfield. I got to think that the Sand Springs passing, the Sand Springs offense in general, going up against this Choctaw defense. It's going to be a huge key to what
yeah.
happens on Friday night.
Yeah, absolutely. Already looking at the weather, the weather's going to be a lot nicer. It's going to be cold but not windy, so that I mean, so that's great for football fans. That's not going to have an effect on anything. So, I mean, I think up front, if we can give Easton time, and that's what we've shown consistently. If Easton has time, our guys can get open. With the stuff that we do offensively, those guys are going to find a way. And it's not just Dom, it's Paxton Salazar, it's KJ Worthington, it's Javari Hill, it's Logan Wright. All those guys are going to make plays. I mean, they can, and when we'll get Alex Dudley in there as well on offense. All those guys are capable to make plays and do big things. So, if they decide to take Dom away, those guys got to be ready to step up, and they have. So, we're just looking forward to the challenge and to see what happens.
It's the final question that we have on all these interviews.
Yeah,
It's an easy question for me to ask.
sure.
It's not an easy answer. What has to happen for the Sandites to raise their first goal ball since the mid 60s on
Yeah.
Friday night?
I think, we got it's old coach speak. We can't turn the ball over. We've got to take the ball away. And then we just got to play our game and have fun. Not let the moment um, define us. We got to define the moment. Those guys, Choctaw, they've been there, done this. They're going to be ready. But they're not going to have to look to find us. We'll be ready to go. We'll put a game plan together. We're going to get these guys in position to make plays, and ultimately it's going to be up to the players. And so, looking forward to talking to Jake pregame and catching up with him. Talk about his four kids. I call him the Brady Bunch over there, man. I love catching up with him. And then when we go to our sidelines, it's freaking on, and he knows it, and I know it. And man, I love coaching and playing against Choctaw because they're going to bring it.
Coach, thanks so much for your time.
Got it.
Congratulations on making it back to the state championship game. Good luck on Friday nights, and it should be a good one.
Awesome. Thank you, brother.
That's Sand Springs head coach Bobby Klinck joining us here on another coach's conversation. We'll have plenty more. We'll hear from Jake Corbin on our YouTube channel as well. You can also check out coach's conversations for the 6A1 state title game, the 5A state championship game, and then, of course, you can follow all of our state championship coverage, not only on Prep Red Zone Oklahoma, but also right here on our PRZOK YouTube channel. For Coach Klinck, I'm Michael Knight. This has been another edition of the coach's conversations here on our Prep Red Zone Oklahoma YouTube channel.